Exciting day. We're here with someone you might remember from what we thought was the final season
Yes,
of American Idol.
We did indeed. We were very wrong.
We were wrong. You were so good on the show, they said we just got to bring the show back.
Oh, shucks. That's
So-
probably not it. Thank you.
So we're here with Dalton Rapattoni. Idol was obviously, actually, it's been more than a year now, and now you're doing some awesome stuff on your own. You have a new album coming out.
I do.
Title and release date, please.
It's called Nobody's Home, and it comes out September 22nd.
The day after my birthday.
Wow.
Perfect birthday. Actually, technically, it will sort of come out on my birthday because,
Midnight, yeah.
9 p.m. on the West Coast.
Oh, is that what they do? Mm-hmm. I'm new to this. I didn't know that.
Well, we don't need to talk about my birthday. What we need to talk about is the fact that you have a new album out, and I have questions for you, and we're gonna talk later. But right now, we need to let the people out there hear the music. So I'm just gonna sit here awkwardly by your side, ignore me,
Okay.
while we watch you perform.
All right. This is one that I wrote while I was on the show about a girl that wouldn't talk to me while I was on the show. It's called Somewhere in America. I wonder if you know that I just landed in town, that the shoes you gave me met familiar ground, and that I still feel these pressure shifts when you're around. And I wonder if you know I put my face on the line, that I traded home for TV time, and if you ever cared enough to wonder why somewhere in America on a TV screen, I wonder if your lips share the same pixels as me at different times. But I don't care, 'cause we shared the same space, and I met you there. And if for a moment, if just a moment, and I wonder if you know I use these cameras as tools in the hopes to get back into your living room. And yes, I know my plan might suck, but I'll follow through. And I wonder if you heard me out the corner of your ear, and if you know I'll sing about you for years. Are you on the same channel as me? Are you my dear? Somewhere in America on a TV screen, I wonder if your lips share the same pixels as me at different times. But I don't care, 'cause we shared the same space, and I met you there. And if for a moment, if just a moment, somewhere in America on a TV screen, I wonder if your lips share the same pixels as me at different times. But I don't care, 'cause we shared the same space, and I met you there. Somewhere in America on a TV screen, I wonder if you're watching and pulling for me. Do you have my back, or do you not care? 'Cause it's all for you, so I'm off the air. Somewhere in America on a TV screen, I wonder if your lips share the same pixels as me at different times. But I don't care, 'cause we shared the same space, and I met you there. And if for a moment, if just a moment. That was it. I don't know how to continue. That one's called Somewhere in America. That's on the new album, Nobody's Home. Comes out September 22nd. And this one is going to be on the deluxe version of the record. This one is called Open Book. And it goes a little something like, I lost my head going for the crown. And it's quite a funny story, but I'll never write it down. They switched my blood out with ink, and then wrote a book inside me, thus forcing me to read line by line and rib by rib. Improper punctuation is puncturing my skin, and yeah, it hurts, but not too much. See, I've got an ugly cover, but who are you to judge this open book? An open book, another wasted treat. An open book with dust to cover me. No, I'm just an open book that no one wants to read. I've got these hands that I don't want, 'cause they shake with every letter as I scribble down my thoughts with sloppy words and sloppy form. They end up on crumpled paper I throw idly on the floor, and every page is yours to write. 'Cause we're all just pointless stories, but we're connected at the spine, and by ourselves we don't make sense. But when you put us all together, you can start to comprehend this open book. An open book, another wasted treat. An open book with dust to cover me. No, I'm just an open book that no one wants to read. This world is toying with your head, just thrown on the pile to be burned like all the rest. Each note's a raindrop on a page. We just use the music to distort the words we say, 'cause I think you like me this way. As an open book, another wasted tree. An open book with dust to cover me. No, I'm just another book that you don't want. An open book, another wasted tree. An open book with dirt to cover me. No, I'm just an open book that no one wants to read. That's it.
Was it weird that I was sitting here the whole time? just watching
I
you
kind of
perform?
just like tried to.
It was really cool, actually. It was. I mean, the music and the lyrics obviously are very intimate or very personal. So,
Yeah.
like, watching you from so close was really cool. So, I want to ask you about the first song. Who's this chick who was rejecting you? You're on Idol, one of the biggest shows on TV.
Right.
Top 3, and she's not liking you?
She is a very, very nice girl.
Okay,
And it's
so-
not that she wasn't liking me. It's just it was a bit of a complicated situation, and it ended up where we just weren't talking. And it's funny because during the show, because I would do songs on the show that would kind of like hint to her that I was like trying to get her attention. And I won't say
Trying
which
to think
songs.
which ones they are. I'm like trying to.
You can, if you guess one, I'll say yes or no.
All right. Well, keep going with your
Okay.
song.
So, no, but it ended up being, like, even after the show, she, like, hadn't realized yet. But then eventually, like, her family told her, like, hey, you this song that Dalton did? It's, like, weirdly specific and possibly about you. And she was like, no, it's fine. And then I went on this tour after Idol, and I started doing another song that I had written about her. She has several. But this one wasn't so nice. It was at a period of time where I was mad about the situation. And before I played the song every night, I would apologize. And I would say, I'm sorry for writing this song, and this should be like a lesson. Don't write songs when you're angry. Unless, the person that you're writing it about really hates you or, knows that you're fooling. But she ended up talking to me after that.
Okay.
So it's all good.
I don't think you should not write songs when you're angry. I mean, think of all the great songs like "You Ought to Know" by Alanis Morissette, or
Right.
so many speed metal songs.
I think a better thing to say would be, don't write songs when you're angry unless you're willing to suffer the consequences.
Okay. Was God Only Knows about her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do I win?
Your
album
You
when
can
it
have my
comes out.
tuner. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can have the album.
So let's talk about the album.
Okay.
It's called Nobody's Home.
Yes.
It doesn't have an apostrophe.
No.
And being a writer, it
Right.
drives me nuts. But there's
yeah,
a
I
reason
know.
for it. It's not bad grammar. There's a reason for it.
Right. I kind of wanted to take, I wanted an album that could mean several things to several different people. And the apostrophe denotes the meaning nobody is home. Mm-hmm. And I tried to make it ambiguous as possible, because I want it, it could mean like the person who is nobody is home, or it could mean there is no one home. And I kind of thought, because like at different points in the album it meant different things to me. So I didn't want to like denote a particular meaning, because that would take out the subjectivity of it.
Well, the word nobody is important to you. I see you actually have it tattooed on your arm.
I do.
And I think you call your fans nobodies?
They started calling themselves that.
Okay.
First of all, it sounds mean if it's just like, did you call your fans that? And I'm like, well, no, but yeah.
What's the significance of this word to you?
There's an Emily Dickinson poem called Nobody, and it begins with, I'm nobody, who are you nobody too? And I kind of felt like that poem really resonated with me, because it's nice to be comfortable in your insignificance, kind of, because it kind of puts you on the same playing field as everybody. If everybody's nobody, then nobody can be somebody, and everyone is equal. And so if you live life like that, you're never really afraid of anyone.
You always did seem very humble on Idol.
Oh, shucks, thank you.
No, you did. You didn't seem like you got a swelled head even when the judges were praising you. And you also didn't seem to really take it too much to heart when they weren't praising you, because sometimes you got some mixed reviews.
I got really constructive feedback, especially from Harry, because I always liked getting Harry's critiques, because I know they all like are very proficient in music, and they all know what they're talking about, but it's like they have to keep up the personality that they try to convey on the show. Mm-hmm. And I always said that J-Lo will tell you something was wrong, Keith will tell you what was wrong, but then Harry will tell you how to fix it. And that was always what I appreciated about Harry, because he was always the first person to be like, yeah, this is the thing that's messed up, and this is how you fix it. And that's what I loved about him.
Do you remember a specific piece of advice from him, or from any of the judges, or from anyone on the show, a coach, whatever, that really stuck with you and that you carried into your post-Idol career?
It was actually funny, because it was Adam Lambert DM'd me on Twitter. And
Hi, Adam.
Hey, Adam.
I'm a big fan.
He told me that America likes a transformative contestant, so someone who changes over the course of the show.
He's right.
Yeah, he is right. And I think it's not just over the course of the show. Over your whole career, you kind of naturally make changes, and that's just character development.
That's great advice. Good advice, Adam.
Thanks, man.
But that being said, just to play devil's advocate for a minute, sometimes when contestants change too much on the show, the judges will tell them, "Oh, why did you veer so?" They'll say, They'll say, "Get out of your lane, get out of your comfort zone, get out of your wheelhouse."
Right.
But then if you do it, sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, you did something that wasn't suitable for you."
Yeah.
It's kind of a double-edged sword.
I think you kind of have to know what works for you when you're making like a drastic shift, because like if you're like an R&B guy, like going and doing just like a full-on like metal song might not be the best idea unless you like change it to fit your style.
Right.
But like, it's all kind of like a case-by-case basis, because there's some people that are just like, they hear the advice of like, oh, you need to evolve during the show, and they're like, okay, started off as a singer-songwriter girl, gonna do a hip-hop song. And it's like, they don't really put much thought into how that fits into like their personality and their art.
So
and that's dangerous.
No, it's great advice. What performance from Idol would you say is most representative of the kind of music you're doing now?
Ooh, that's a good
On
question.
Nobody's Home.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I do now is a lot more contemporary. I would say, everything I did on the show was so
rock and roll.
Yeah, they sort of had you kind of like Adam Lambert in his season. You were sort of pegged as the rocker of season 15.
There's always one.
There has to be one.
There has to be one. And that's the thing, even if you don't necessarily, if you like broadly fit into a category, maybe they'll like zero into that and they'll be like, you're the rock guy now. And it's fine, it fits. It's like a very like, it was a good thing for me because more people like will rally behind a rock guy than like an alternative rock pop kind of guy because
Right.
that's less, you know.
The track record of who's won Idol, people like Caleb Johnson, David Cook, you're right.
Yeah, for sure.
Even Adam Lambert, when he was on the show, wasn't really doing, for the most part, alternative rock songs. He was doing like classic rock
Right,
songs.
and you look at him now, like his stuff is very pop.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you kind of just like find a niche that like they naturally put you in, and then you kind of just like try to play around with it as much as you can. But that's one of the reasons why like I was a little bit apprehensive of winning and the idea of winning, just because we didn't really know the people at the label very well, and they were like, these guys are just seeing me as the rock guy. They're gonna make me make a rock album, which I didn't really want to do at that point. So I don't know. It's kind of like a little bit of give and take with that.
Well, you did come in with a shock of white hair and some completely badass flowered Doc Martens, if I recall.
Thanks,
So
yeah.
I can see why they got the rock thing. Do you still have those shoes?
I do, but
you
I
are wearing
haven't-
Docs today, right?
I am.
But they're plain.
Yeah,
nice, but not
thank
flower,
you.
not floral.
Yeah, thank you.
Those were good shoes.
I haven't worn those since that day.
Are they in like a museum now?
No, but they're deep in my closet, and I'm afraid to wear them because it's like I feel like they have like voodoo in them.
But they brought you luck.
They did bring me luck, but like I don't want to like waste the luck. Like maybe if I'm doing something like really big that I'm really really nervous for, I'll put them on. But like right now, I feel like I don't need to abuse the possible voodoo that is in those shoes.
Maybe when they invite you back for season 16,
Maybe.
because that's what they do. That
I think I would have gotten the call by now.
I
But
don't know. It doesn't start filming. Well, it doesn't start till February, right? Maybe.
I don't know.
But actually, to that end, I mean, we were sort of joking earlier that we thought your season was the last season. They made a big fanfare about it. How do you feel about the fact that it's coming back?
You know, I have mixed feelings. Like I obviously like am super happy that it's coming back for the opportunity it's going to give a lot of musicians. It is a great thing that like really anyone can do. Like anyone can rise up from like nothing through American Idol. And I'm really, really happy for the people that have the opportunity to do that. There is just a little bit of salt just because it was really cool to say that like you're on the last season.
Yeah.
And now it's like you can still say that, but it's like on Fox.
The last Fox season.
Yeah,
I
so.
do think maybe they should have you back for a do-over because, you know, I love American Idol. I'm not dissing the show, obviously. But they didn't have many of you contestants on the finale. It was all about the past people. And even Trent, who won, spent most of the time in the audience. So I think maybe they need to have a season 15 reunion.
Yeah, I mean, that would be actually really, really cool.
Yeah.
I would totally sign on for that. But it was, I think what the finale was like American Idol kind of like rubbing it in the face of all of the other singing competition shows. Like, look at how many people we've made famous.
I hate to say it because I do love The Voice and I write about The Voice as well, but I remember because I was at that finale and in tears most of the time, or just even seeing someone in the crowd in the, you know, when they had like the big group number at the beginning, when you're all in white, and seeing someone who literally came in like 8th place in season 2 and being like, oh, I completely remember that person. I can recognize them from my seat, and thinking, if The Voice did that and they had people coming back from season 3 or whatever, would most people recognize them? Probably not. X Factor in UK could probably do it, but not X Factor here. Even America's Got Talent, which is a huge show, if they were bringing back people from 10 years ago, most people wouldn't remember. But Idol, it really stuck with people.
It's funny because like on America's Got Talent, I have people ask me a lot, especially when American Idol wasn't. We didn't know if it was coming back. People would ask me like, should I go on like any of the singing competition shows because America's Got Talent is coming. I was like, if you're a singer and you're going on America's Got Talent, just remember you're competing with like penguins that can like hula hoop with like fire, with motocross people jumping over. Like it's hard as a singer to compete with that.
Yeah.
So like even if you're the best, you're competing with like a talking dog.
Yeah.
Like
There's
it's
no
tough.
Sorry, I'm voting for the talking dog.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Sorry.
I am too. But I'm really, really glad American Idol's coming back because it was honestly like they let you say what you want, they let you wear what you want, they let you sing what you want. It was for like if you want to be yourself and like have the world know who you are, like it or hate it, American Idol is the best option for that.
Well, that leaves the door open really well for something else I want to talk to you about. Is I really admired how when you were on the show, you really were yourself. You were very vulnerable. I believe it was one of the first I'd seen on any kind of talent show where, you talked about your mental health struggles and personal struggles. And I mean, they always have personal struggles, backstories on these shows, but not like yours was. And I just want to talk to you a bit about that. Did you feel like a responsibility or did you have a desire to sort of be an advocate for that, for mental health awareness and stuff when you were on the show?
Right. It kind of came from a couple things. One was that I made it way further than I thought I would, and we ran out of things to talk about. But it was mostly because, there's always the 1 week where they do all, the really sad stories. That was a bummer that week. All week backstage, people were crying. But for me, it was always, I had a lot of people that I looked up to as a kid. And, one of them, it was Justin Furstenfeld, who's a singer for a band called Blue October.
Who you worked with on your album?
Yes, I did.
Or you worked with someone from that band, right?
I worked with Justin and Matt Nevesky, who's a bassist. But Justin always was very public about having bipolar disorder and things like that. And Sid Barrett, the former bassist of Pink Floyd, also had bipolar disorder. And it's nice to have, people talk about it. Because there's not a lot of media figures that have bipolar disorder that are really good influences. Anytime people see someone with bipolar disorder on television, it's always on Law and Order, where a person with bipolar disorder murdered 14 people, and it just makes people afraid of people with any sort of mental illness, and that's real bad. Don't do that anymore, please. But it's good to talk about, just because it's nice to not only give people with some sort of mental illness someone to look at, but also to show people who don't have mental illness that we're not all psycho murderers, which is cool.
Yeah. Did you get any good fan response? Do you have any stories about whatever tweets, messages from fans who were grateful for what you were doing?
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of Twitter messages and things like that. It was funny because I was really nervous to talk about it at first, because I was I had assumed that oh crap, people are gonna find out that I'm bipolar, and then they're gonna be oh, this kid's weird, we don't want to vote for him anymore. But then I started to get messages from families and moms and dads with kids with bipolar disorder, and a lot of them, I read them, and they were very nice, and they said that it helped a lot. And I remember thinking, I was sitting in my hotel room, and I was even if I don't win, even if this is the thing that sinks me, that sends me home, I mean, it's probably worth it. So
that's great. Do you think that I feel the tides are turning? I don't know if you do. It seems, particularly in the music space, there are besides Justin from Blue October, there are more people now who, even if it's not bipolar, if they're talking about depression, suicidal thoughts, eating disorders, whatever, who are talking about their struggles. Katy Perry did a big splash. Who's going to be on Idol? Did a big splash where she talked about it and had one of her therapy sessions live streamed.
Oh wow, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. Lady Gaga has spoken out a lot. Kesha, of course, Sia, who you worked with, Dan Reynolds from Imagine Dragons talks a lot about it. Mary Lambert. I mean, the list goes on, but even a couple years ago, I wouldn't have been able to really give you a list.
Yeah.
And your name is on the list. I mean, do you feel any kind of tide turning with erasing the stigma of mental illness?
I do, because it's kind of always been, something that's pushed by the wayside, because it's a problem that is not visible to anyone who doesn't experience it. Therefore, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And it's nice that artists are getting loud about it, because it's not with Chester Bennington.
Yeah.
It's something that can't be ignored, or it's detrimental to the person's health. And it's so hard to get it. And it's even me, I've known I've had bipolar disorder since I was 9. But I couldn't describe to you what schizophrenia is like. There's no way for my brain to comprehend what that's like. And so when you can't explain something to someone, it's easier to just be screw it, I don't have to care about that. But we do have to care about that, because even though it's not real to other people, it's very real to the people who are experiencing it.
Why do you think there is still a stigma about it when, if there's an artist, say like Sheryl Crow, talking about how she had cancer, no one's like, cancer, you're weird. Like, it's an
Right.
illness.
Exactly.
But when it's a mental problem or mental condition, people judge.
Yeah. I 100% blame television. There's a lot of people in TV that are trying their best to make mental illness a more commonly accepted thing. But for years, the only people who have mental illness are plot points. This person has dissociative identity disorder. So, like, Split was, like, horrible.
I never saw Split.
It's like things like that just use mental illness as like an excuse to make a serial killer is like so horrible for public perception, because when someone who like has seen Split or another horror film with that uses that as a plot point, and then they meet someone with dissociative identity disorder, of course they're going to be afraid. That's their only frame of reference. And so yeah, with the public stigma being around, I blame television, because it's so easy as a plot point to use. Like, how do we make this guy crazy? Oh, give him a mental illness. It's fine. We don't have to write an interesting backstory. Just say that he's nuts. So,
Are there any examples, depictions in television that you think are positive? Yourself.
I've heard
that was not fiction.
I've heard that the dude in Shameless is good. I haven't seen it personally. I've heard of some stuff in the works from my actor friends that sound pretty good. And there's going to be people who try. But it was like my segment on Idol when I was talking about bipolar disorder. It wasn't really done exactly how I wanted it to be, because they really hammed up the duality of it, when it's not. It made it seem like there's two different people that live inside of you, and when it's not like that at all. And it's easy to get America to understand that because it's more simple terms and stuff. But the more complicated a subject, the more people you have to filter it through, like in TV production. It's going to get more simple, and that's why I think it's really hard to do any sort of TV or film portrayal of it that's like accurate.
Well, regarding your own TV experience, forgive me if I'm asking a question that's ignorant, but is the fact that you're bipolar, did that create any problems for you being in the limelight? Did it make your experience different from maybe someone else who doesn't have that condition? Right. Being on a show that no matter what mindset you're in, no matter what your backstory is, it's a high pressure situation. There's a lot of scrutiny, a lot of stress. Like, did you have specific obstacles?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess it was so stressful that I didn't notice. Like, everything was so stressful. Like, even if I was doing my ups and downs, like, I couldn't feel them because I was just so stressed the whole time. But I'm really well medicated, and I'm not saying that medication is the correct way for everybody, but I have a really severe case, so I kind of have to be. But I'm really well medicated, and, I've been living with it for a long time, so I'm, like, able to kind of, deal with it without thinking about it sometimes. Okay. So, but, I mean, you kind of feel the ups and downs, but with a situation this stressful, it was just, like, so much that you can't even pay attention to it. You just, like, have to, like, keep pushing forward and not pay attention to that other stuff.
I know you've talked about it before, but I remember when Sia was on the show, I was just mentioning Sia, you had a really nice moment. I felt like you guys really bonded. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and what it meant to you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that Sia had bipolar until the day we met her. And then a lot of stuff kind of started to make sense. Like, I always say that, like, there's ups and downs, but then there's mountains and valleys, and you occasionally hit one of those really hard ones. And those are when it makes it easier to write songs. Like, that's when you find, like, a moment of, like, manic clarity. And you can kind of see that in her songs. And it's just, like, these little hints. But meeting her was really cool, because it's, like, it's nice to see that this won't, like, end you. You don't have to sit at home on your couch for the rest of your life feeling sorry for yourself. Like, you can be not only like a productive member of society, but you can be a genuinely great human being that contributes a lot. And so that's really nice to see.
I remember when you were in the rehearsal or whatever, the workroom, whatever they call it, and I think she told you she had the same type of bipolar disorder. She was a bipolar 2? Okay. And I remember just seeing something in your eyes, like, not like happy, not excited, you know what I mean? Just like, oh.
See, that's funny because
she gets it, you know, that kind of thing.
Well, it's funny because when people at meet and greets come up to me all the time, they're like, I have bipolar disorder as well. And I'm like, cool. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's funny because like, I don't think of it as like a bad thing anymore. I just think of it as a thing.
Right.
Like I have an extra toe. Like, it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, when I found out she had the same exact type as me, I was like, it's weird because it's like you feel like she literally like thinks the same as me, like chemically she thinks the same, and therefore there's nothing that she does that I can't do. And so it was a really cool moment because it was like everything kind of clicked. And like even up until that point I was like, there's a limit to how high I can go because of, you know, bipolar and everything.
You thought that?
I thought that for a long time. But after meeting her, you kind of realize, like, there's really not. And then I did a lot of research on, you know, public figures who had it. And Winston Churchill, who won World War II, by the way, he had bipolar disorder. It's commonly accepted that he did as well. And if he can beat Hitler, you can do anything.
Well said, well said. That was the week that you had what a lot of people thought was your best performance, or one of them, your breakthrough performance when you did
Bird Set Free.
Yes. What was going through your mind? Because you kind of, I mean, you cried on stage during that.
I did. That was my mom's fault. So my mom was in the audience, and I didn't know where she was at first, and so I was singing my song, and I like was looking around, kind of like looking for them, and then I saw her on stage right, and like she was sobbing, and I was like, okay, and it was so stressful, like there was like literally nothing that I can do to keep myself crying. So I just start like bawling in the middle of the song. But it was a perfect song to do it because the lyrics were, you know, I don't care if I sing off key, and it's all about just like expressing yourself rather than being perfect in music. And I thought that was my strength on the show, was I was never the best singer, but I only picked songs that I really connected with.
Well, you were a great singer, but you were up against two people that were like
insane
powerhouses.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you had a different thing going on. Is that why you called your tour the Inspired Attempt Tour?
because Keith said I would prefer an inspired attempt over soulless perfection. And so we called the first tour after Idol, we called it the Inspired Attempt, and then the one after that was an acoustic tour, so we called it the Acoustic Attempt. Yeah.
You're always so self-deprecating.
I know.
Were you confident on the show? Like, did you think you had I thought you had a chance to win. Mm-mm. Maybe you didn't think you did?
No. I mean, every week and the producers would make a joke out of it, but I just like, every week I was amazed.
Really?
I was like, because I thought I was like, there has to be like, they must have forgotten me. Like, I felt like I was just like, a rat that like stowed away on a ship, kind of like I just tried to lay low for a really long time and like, just like do my best and like stay out of the way, because like you have these amazing singers that are like getting booted off and somehow making it past all of them. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing right, but I don't want to mess it up. So I'm just going to, like, keep doing the same thing that I have been doing and then hope that they don't, like, see me. And then realize, like, oh, wait, we forgot to kick off Dalton, like, 4 rounds ago. Get out of here, kid.
That would have been great television if they're like, hey, why are you still here? You came in 8th. Why are you still here?
Yeah, that would have been great.
We forgot. That would have been hilarious. But no, you obviously deserve to get
Thank you very much.
To the top.
I appreciate that.
So what's next for you?
We've got the album coming out September 22nd. It's called Nobody's Home. Please pre-order on iTunes. And after that, we're going to be promoting it a lot. So we're going to be doing a lot of touring, a lot of press. And then kind of who knows after that. I'm hoping to get on some festivals next summer for sure. We're looking to open for somebody possibly. I'm not allowed to say, but somebody possibly.
Queen and Adam Lambert?
That would be so dope. That would be sick. Call me, Adam.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank
I'm
you
really
for having
happy
me.
for all your success.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for the ringside seat concert.
All right.
And I'll see you soon.